Hey everybody, this is Jake from Tasting Anarchy. I just wanted to put out a bonus episode this weekend because not fitting into my regularly scheduled shows of a mini or classic on Tuesday and a new regular length episode on Friday, I had this really great time with a new friend of the show, Mr. Pseu. We did an episode together where we actually tried 3 wines. 2 of them I picked out and 1 he picked out. Both of us being from Texas, I chose a Texas Tempranillo, one of my favorites from Becker's Vineyard, or Becker Vineyard, just their standard Texas Tempranillo. I also chose a Zinfandel from Ravenswood, which we've done a review of before, Mason and I have, and I thought they were both good wines, and I wanted to share those with Mr. Pseu, who told me he likes bold, fruity wines, and I think Tempranillo and Zinfandel are very good. I guess they present that style, a bold, a fruity flavor, lower tannins, but full-bodied, and I just thought that was a good choice. But of the wines that we drank in this episode, the one that I think was the winner was actually the one that he brought, and it's not available at my Total Wine, although I was over in the Fort Worth Total Wine not too long ago, and they did have this, but my Total Wine doesn't have it, and that is the Llano Estacado House Reserve Tempranillo. I thought this was a very, very good Tempranillo, and which is funny because I think that Llano's standard Tempranillo is not very good, and but their Meritage blend is very good, and I'm starting to discover that the Llano Estacado actually does several good wines, and they do also some kind of not great cheap wines. So anyways, enjoy the episode. I don't want to ramble too much about the wines. We do cover them in the episode. Here it is.
Down in Petersburg, everything's fine. All them cats is drinking that wine. Drinking that mess is their delight. When you get drunk, start singing all night. Drinking wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Wine's for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Drinking that mess is their delight. When it gets drunk, start fighting all night.
Welcome to Tasting Anarchy. This is Jacob Lindsay, and I am joined by not Mason this week, but a very special guest, Mr. Pseu. Mr. Pseu, how are you doing today?
Hey, it's not really daytime anymore, but I'm doing great.
Yeah. Did I say how are you doing today?
You did.
Okay, well, how are you doing this evening?
Well, I'm very fine. Thank you.
So we just got back from a libertarian gathering in the DFW area, but you are not from the DFW area.
I'm not. I'm from the California, Austin, Night area. Yeah. And, don't ask me a whole lot about the area, because as long as I've lived there, I don't really know too much, but that might be for better or for worse. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, we had I think a really good time. I'm glad that you came up. It's a little bit of a trek for you, but I think it was a really great first meeting. Do you have any takeaways from our libertarian anarchist gathering?
Dude, it was awesome. It was great. I wish it wasn't as tangential because there was how many of us? Okay, there was Dean, there was Carr, there was one Wednesday. There was Wednesday. So that's 3, and then there was.
I'll save you some counting. There was 10, including that little boy.
Okay, so that's 10 and a half.
Yes, 10 and a half. Right on.
So
I didn't know most of the people, but until they started introducing themselves to me as their Twitter handles.
Yeah.
And then there was one guy who was from Reddit. And I'm on Reddit, but I just look at dank Christian memes.
Was that Luke?
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
were we not supposed to say his real name?
Well, I mean, we didn't say his last name, so.
Oh, okay.
Well, shout out to him if he knows who he is. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good first meeting. I'm really glad that you came up, but I thought this would be a really good opportunity to introduce you to some of my favorite wines. Yes, my favorite budget wines. They are inexpensive. Both of these are under $20. The 2 that I picked, and the one that you brought up as a very nice gift.
Yes,
also under $20.
Also from your suggestion too.
Yeah. So
which, by the way, did not taste like barbecue.
This was not the one that tasted like barbecue. The one that tastes,
right.
The one that tastes like barbecue is also Llano, but it's the Llano Meritage blend that is well, they only have one Meritage blend, but the Meritage blend, I did a mini episode on that when I was talking about Meritage wine. And
which give the people a quick background if they didn't catch that.
Yeah.
So what is Meritage?
So a quick background on what Meritage wines are is a Meritage wine is an independent certification agency that certifies wines that are done in the Bordeaux style in the New World. So in the United States, it's done by an organization called the Meritage Alliance, and they certify wines that are a blend of the types of grapes that are used in Bordeaux style wines. So that's, in a nutshell, what it is.
So legally, it's making Bordeaux, but in America.
They're making a Bordeaux
without
blend.
getting in trouble.
Yeah, so, like, I mean, we can get into this, and you know, Jackson Blood's a great person to have on for this, but so much of what Bordeaux is the terroir and also the tradition of the winemakers. So it's not Bordeaux, but it's done in the Bordeaux style, and it can be, in my opinion, just as good, or just as good in a different way. So I thought that
Americana.
Yeah, it is. It's Americana. And like, actually, of all places, South New Jersey apparently does a really good Bordeaux style Meritage blend. They call it something like BDX or something like that. It sounds kind of racy.
BMX?
Something like that.
BDX.
Yeah, but it's very good. But the two wines that I picked for you, so I asked you on Twitter, or as you call it, the twatter.
Hell yeah. That's what everyone should call it. That's
right.
Basically what it is.
Yeah.
Actually, I just had to say, like, doing this show has been like the best excuse for me to really be active on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I don't regret it. So as much as I've shat on it in the past, it's really fun. And it's not like I follow a bunch of like crazy accounts and like retweet a bunch of shit, which I'm actually starting to do consequently. But it's just a great way to communicate. So
it is.
Not that I need to plug Twitter, especially after, if anyone saw the interview with Jack on the Joe Rogan show, take what you will with whatever content happened. Also, don't ask me about that because I didn't watch it. I just heard from hearsay of what happened.
Oh, yeah. I watched some of it, but...
you did?
I listened to a little bit, and I was just like, I'm just not that interested.
Yeah, I don't plan on watching it. But no, Twitter is great. Not that I need to plug Twitter, but I'm really surprised of how much I've come to enjoy it and how great it is how to connect with people. Because social media, like the name answers itself, it's exactly that.
Yeah.
So... as long as I don't get kicked off, which I don't plan on anytime soon because I don't do anything too bad on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, where am I going with this? Continue. We're talking about wine.
Yeah. I don't remember where we were going with it, but on the Twitter, I asked you what kind of wine you liked, and you said you wanted something that was fruity. And I don't like sweet wine, so I chose fruity and dry and a little bit heavier body. Not super heavy body. These are going to be, both of these, not necessarily super tannic, a little bit more of a viscous, but they are both going to be very fruity. So what I've got here is a Texas Tempranillo from Becker Vineyard. And also, both of these I think I've mentioned on the show before. The other one is Ravenwood Zinfandel from the Old Vine. I believe most of it's grown in Lodi. And I think this is a good representation of what a red, full-bodied, fruity wine would be. So
awesome.
I am going to pour you a glass of the Tempranillo, or I'll let you pour yourself a glass of the Tempranillo, and you can try it. I know you don't want to have too much because it's getting pretty late.
It is. I had too much too soon of that Llano earlier.
Yeah.
I trust you more so.
All right.
I have a propensity to spill, and I would not want to do that as a guest, and you being the host.
Oh, that's totally fine.
So I'm not going to drink it yet because it's just not how we roll. As we taste our anarchy, we gotta slosh it a little bit.
Or you spin it around a little bit.
You gotta oxidize it.
Get a little bit of the aroma.
Would say. And it's so true how you said the scent changes.
It does, yeah.
That is just wild to me. So earlier, the Llano, it started as just like a basic, this is red wine. As Mason said, like, red tastes like reds, and you spilled on your shirt.
I did. I just spilled it on myself.
That's classy.
Yep.
You just wasted wine. You better start sucking on that shirt. Get what you can out. That's a good $17 down the toilet, sir.
This is a good $17 divided by whatever the amount I spent. So a couple cents?
96th.
Yeah, okay.
Yes. But as I was saying that first Llano earlier, the Tempranillo, I totally did not say that. In fact,
I think
that was way too
it's
ethnic.
I think it's
sounding.
Tempranillo.
Yeah.
But
Tempranillo. Wait, is this supposed to be Italian or French?
it's Spanish.
Spanish.
Yeah.
But
So,
super butchered.
but a Romance language. So it's very close.
Right. But that Llano earlier, when I smelled it, it was like, oh, this is just a red wine. And then once I sloshed it a little bit, I just spun it in my glass, people. I didn't put it in my mouth, swash it, and spit it out like mouthwash. So the second time of sloshing it, it was very fruity. But then I gave it a third slosh, and like you said, it was like very wet dogs.
Yeah.
So that was super bizarre.
Yeah. They can. There's a lot of really unusual flavors from it. Now, I think that the Llano Estacado, I think most of their Tempranillo grapes come from Texas High Plains. I'd have to go look because I'm not 100% sure. This one is all from Texas Hill Country, which is down sort of near Austin. And they are very different climates, and they do produce different Tempranillos. This is one of my favorite Tempranillos that's in Texas. Texas doesn't have a very wide, I guess, acclaim for wines. You got to look on your face like maybe you don't like it.
No, I don't know.
Well,
it's not that it's cold. I just got goosebumps for some reason.
Oh, okay. So Texas has several wine growing regions. This one's from Texas Hill Country, and I'll go ahead and read what's on the back of the barrel. And it says, aged in both French and American oak barrels, our Tempranillo has intriguing flavors of mocha and sun-dried cherries.
I disagree.
I also disagree. Sun-dried cherries, I could see that. Mocha, I don't think so. It is very fruity, very acidic. It is a lot smoother than a lot of Tempranillos.
Smoother than the Llano, for sure.
It is, and I think that's typical of Hill Country Tempranillo versus High Plains Tempranillo. I do like the High Plains kind of aggressiveness, but I also like the
aggressiveness as like it's more acidic.
Yeah, a little more acidic, a little bit more of like a grabs your throat kind of.
Yes.
Whereas this
full
one is
body.
More full body. This one's a little bit more like it's still full bodied because full bodied would indicate that it's like heavier on your
tannin. And if I don't get my fill of tannins,
right.
For the people that can't see, I made Jake drive me to Kroger's, and I have how many pounds? I got a box of black grapes.
Yeah.
Because I have a problem with grapes. I've been known to eat a pound or two in a sitting. Probably not tonight because I'm just not feeling it.
Right.
But
that's good driving food. So
it is for sure, absolutely. But the grapes that are at HEB are very tannic.
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy. So I have that to counterbalance.
Kind of like that sticky
skin.
Yes,
the pull grab. Actually, the latest interview I had for one of my jobs, I was able to not bond this guy over wine. So I was actually trying to pronounce terroir.
Oh, yeah.
And I said terroir. I just like used the wrong words, and I think I guessed what the word was like wrong 3 times. But god damn it, keep doing this. Where was I going with this, people? Anyway, I had this to counterbalance the lack of tannins. But I have come to the conclusion that the mouthfeel that you get in acidic wines is when you put your tongue to the roof of your mouth and you just do that nice little brush to see how it feels marbly. I think that's what I'm going to use for that.
All right.
If that works. But that very smooth outness, like that, not palate cleanse, but just texture cleanse is very smooth. So you could, I would compare that to like marbly. Kind of like the marbly fatness on a steak, that smoothness.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Not so much, but just like that smooth softness, not soul sucking.
Okay.
But the guy I had the interview with, he was referring to dryness, full bodiness as soul sucking, like it's pulling like your soul out. And I kind of disagree because that sounds like morbid. Yeah. Like he's not enjoying it, but he's like a big wine guy. And he also talked about that he's so into wine that he will drink a certain wine for not really based on the terroir, but more so in what mood he's in. It's very mood. So, for example, he'll have like a white if it's a hot, humid day,
Well,
if he's at the park.
See, I don't disagree with.
Oh no, I'm not
that.
disagreeing. Like that's super cool. I just disagree with the soul suckiness because
The soul sucking is that's kind of weird. But like, and that's the thing is, as you know,
and is that a universal thing to like drink for what the mood is and what you're doing?
Yeah,
he's very strict on it.
I think it is because I mean, you think about it, like you drink what you like, and I'm by no means a wine expert in any regard.
You just pretend to be.
Pretend to be. I drink what I like. I'm trying to learn more because it is interesting. I mean, Jackson actually pointed this out very clearly to me, so it made it very clear why I like wine is because it involves so many things that I'm interested in. It involves viticulture, which is like gardening and keeping plants up and stuff like that. It also includes history and geography and like all these other things, and politics, because we get into a lot of the laws and regulations regarding wine. Mm-hmm. So it involves so many things, but it also involves aesthetics, which, I was an art history major early on. I do like aesthetics a lot. It involves food. I like food, but also I've never been that kind of person who's, I don't want to say snobby exactly.
Hoity-toity.
Yeah, I'm not hoity-toity. Like I'm a beer on the weekend kind of guy, but like kind of that point where it's like on hot, humid day, I have specific beers that I think are good for hot, humid days.
Yeah.
Like, Brooklyn Brewing, lagers, or not lager, it's, I think it is lager actually. The Brooklyn Brewing has a lager that I think is great for beaches. Like just on the beach, you go get the Brooklyn Brewing beer, take it out. It's very light, very refreshing. It's great to have out on the beach. On the same token with wine, I think Sauvignon Blanc, perfect for a hot day, or Viognier is a little heavy for a hot day, but something very light, very light mouthfeel, very acidic, very light in flavor. Albarino maybe, something like that. I would agree with him. That's good. Now on the other hand, though, I just like red wine, and
for sure.
So if it's a hot day and I just want a drink that I like, I'm still.
Didn't you start enjoying white wines more?
I did.
Just based on like doing the show.
Yeah,
like, is that the only reason? Because that forced you to like get out of that.
It did.
Red comfort zone.
It did. It wasn't even red. It was specifically Cabernet Sauvignon. That was the only thing I would drink and the only thing I would try, but...
Because that's the only thing you knew?
Yeah, exactly. It was the only thing I knew that I liked, and I had had wine before that I thought was just disgusting. Too sweet, too, like, everything that I thought was bad about wine.
You're drinking restaurant wine.
Yeah, basically. just like too sweet, too syrupy, too... Like, all these things that I associated with wine, which was not what they were. Like wine is so diverse in the same way that beer is so diverse, and liquor.
There's only one place where I enjoyed restaurant wine, and it wasn't restaurant wine. It was like bar wine.
Yeah.
But some place on Rainy Street, God help me, I can't remember the name.
Down in Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's like 6th Street, they call it Dirty Six. So that's where college kids go get drunk and naked, whatever the hell they do. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then there is, there's East 6, which is kind of, it's not as crazy college town, but it's more kind of like music-based, like laid back, not dirtier, not grungier, but, wow, I probably just insulted a lot of people just now. How do I describe it? Oh, I'll counter that by describing West 6, which is kind of like more, I guess, uptowny. Mm-hmm. And then there's Rainy Street, which is kind of like your Sunday fun day kind of deal, day drinking kind of stuff. And this one place, the one, it was a Pinot, of course.
What kind of Pinot Noir, red or
Pinot Noir? Yeah.
Okay.
But it tasted like straight up grape juice.
Interesting.
So that was like the one wine I enjoyed. At a bar outside, which I feel is very rare.
Okay. What, were you eating food with it, or just?
No, I'm just straight like drinking it, and I was very pleased.
Okay.
It was very fitting for like, I don't know. Is communal wine usually fruity? I would think so.
I mean, I grew up Protestant, so we didn't have alcohol.
Oh, that's right.
And so we drank grape juice, and that was very fruity. But I'm sure that somebody who's Catholic could probably answer that. I'm not sure what communion wine is like.
Catholics tweet at us.
Yeah, exactly.
What does your wine taste like?
Yeah, I have honestly, it never occurred to me to even look into that, and now I am a little bit curious because I have no idea.
Yeah,
I know that we've had this. Victoria and I have had this before, and it's I'm going to mispronounce it. It's Cahors. And that is used in not Byzantine Catholic, in Orthodox communion sometimes, not always, but sometimes. So Cahors is it's a Russification of a French word. I don't remember what, so I don't actually know what's in it. I think I knew at some point, I just don't recall. But it's a very highly alcoholic, very, very sweet wine. It is fruity, but it's just so sweet. I don't like it. I'm not a fan of sweet stuff, and it is nauseatingly sweet to me, but Victoria loves it. So
Interesting.
It is, but it's very highly alcoholic. It's like 16 or 17%. This Tempranillo,
blood of Christ for you.
What's that?
It's the blood of Christ for you.
Exactly, yeah. This Tempranillo that you and I are drinking is fairly low. It's 13.5% alcohol by volume.
That's why I don't like it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, you know what? If you don't like it, that's fine. But while we are finishing while we're finishing this glass, and you don't have to drink it if you want, you can pour it out and we'll go to the next one. But tell us a little bit about the show that you are now on episode. Well, as of this recording, episode 7, I think. Or
as
7
of this
comes
recording, as I was waiting for you to get off work, I recorded episode 8 in a parking lot.
Okay. All right.
So
what are you trying to do with your show? What's the direction you want to take it in?
basically, it's libertarianism and anarchism 101 for, people who are on the fence where they are politically. I like to make the argument, as I was telling you earlier, that people by nature might be inherently libertarian, or they just don't know it yet.
Yeah.
But it's going on the principle of, I don't know. I just want to present the basics, whether it be kind of like the basic totems of really being liberty-minded and understanding that it's not the left versus the right, it's us versus the states.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny because I'm still pretty green to the, quote, movement. And it's like I'm learning as I go.
Sure.
And every little episode is kind of a book report.
Sure.
Unless if it's something like today where I just kind of like bullshit for the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I pull up a Lou Rockwell article that I find.
Yeah.
And I just kind of like dissect it. And it's funny, like it's like you're learning with me in real time. Not very professional, so I apologize for that. But hey, if you choose to listen, thanks. You should check it out. I am Mr. Pseu at Mr. Pseu, but basically think of this as like libertarianism for, basic bitches.
Well, see, I enjoy it a lot. I think it was episode 4 you did a episode where you were critiquing, it was something that was either CNN or Fox where they were talking about like universal service.
Oh my God, that bitch really pissed me off.
I know she did, but like what was funny is like a lot of things you were talking about and a lot of things that she was talking about reminded me of when I was younger. And you and I had mentioned this or through our Twitter chat or whatever, was one of the things that I'm very grateful for at this point, but at the time I was not particularly happy about it, was that I tried to enlist in the military, and the branch that I was trying to enlist in didn't accept me because my tattoo on the back of my leg was too big.
Oh yeah, you didn't show me that yet.
I'll show it to you after the episode. Okay. So, but they said, well, no, this is too big. You can probably go join the army.
This white boy is a Crip, so
Right, exactly. Well, that's what the dude who's recruiting me, like he had this expression on his face. He's like, on paper you are a really great recruit, but we aren't really hurting for new enlistees, and your tattoo violates the size rule. And it could be gang related. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
And then 15 years later, they started having, don't ask, don't tell. And that was cool. And well, I guess up until now, they let people serve if they were, transsexuals. What are we supposed to call people?
I'm not
that?
sure what I think transgender.
I'm not sure. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry if I offended anyone. But yeah, so that's ironic, but that's very cool how.
Yeah. Well, I always feel like I was very blessed because I don't think that would have been the right thing for me, and I think I would have ended up coming to resent.
As much as I've learned to like disdain the warfare welfare state, I can align with Thaddeus Russell's way of thinking about it. Like, some people just need to be like whipped into shape, and they need order and structure, and that's totally cool.
And
everyone can relate
I agree
to
with
that.
him on that too, because I have known a lot of people who
they need that discipline.
It does very good for them. I don't think that was me. I think I was just.
You're not really a threat socially or to the public.
I just didn't know what to do, and I think that being rejected.
That's the biggest problem.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's this comes up a lot in our circles or whatever, is that the way that the government is structured, it extends adolescence, and it gets you to a point where, you go back 100 years ago, when you were 16 years old, you would have been married.
You had 5 kids.
You would have had kids. You would have been, well, maybe a man wouldn't have been, but a woman would have been married and starting a family.
Probably at 13.
A guy would have had some sort of career path, but it probably would have been some sort of inheritance, like generational inheritance. So,
yeah.
Or maybe like a.
I mean, it depends, like when you started.
Right. Yeah.
Colonizing.
It just depends. Yeah. But the thing is like that lifestyle went on for thousands of years, and we're only at the point where we're afforded the freedom to be able to.
We are
really kind of
we're
like forge our own
spoiled
path.
and entitled.
We are. Yeah. But
hell yeah.
And I'm very grateful for that, but it also, I think it does cause a lot of angst in young people when they're just not sure what to do. It's very difficult, and the state has, whether it's purposeful or not, has filled that.
This could
spot.
be the Tasting Anarchy conspiracy corner.
Mm-hmm. It could be.
No, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that is like, it could be very well calculated. For anyone who hasn't checked out episode 4. Basically, what she's a doctor.
Yeah.
Evidently, what the fuck that really means. But basically, she went on like the CNN morning Saturday show. Don't ask me what it's called, and don't remind me what this guy's name is. Yeah, we did figure it out, but still, that just goes to show how much I don't.
But it was very difficult to pronounce. Yeah,
it was. And I found a Google translator. No, it wasn't even Google. It was like some. 90s made website. Anyway, what this quote doctor was talking about was this is uncanny. So we go from people joining the Peace Corps for a year. Let's just switch that and let's just replace that with civil service. Yeah. AKA joining the military for a year. But hey, man, if you stay in for 10 years, your debt, student loans, forgiven. Don't worry about it. Not that that's going to impact the already $1 trillion in debt that we are in currently with student loans. So there you go, kids.
Yeah.
Go fucking fight in the desert or whatever island or, country we want to send you. And I just thought it was not perfect, because that would be morbid to say that it was perfect.
Yeah.
But, very fitting for the shit that we're getting into in Venezuela. And I just couldn't stand it. If you want to hear me bitch more and gripe and, incoherently just go off the walls, go check out episode 4 of my podcast. But
so what is so this is what you're kind of doing with it now, is it's like 101, you going through learning these things and taking people on the journey with you. Do you have a direction that you want to start taking this, or are you just kind of wing it as you go?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So what I really wanted to do, there's so much awesome, great free resources, whether it's a news article or everything Mises related, every Rothbard book is free to download on iTunes. Yeah. And that's just a great way to, maybe, and it's cool they'll have one book out, but each chapter is an hour long. So you can even dissect that and make each chapter an episode. I'm probably giving someone an idea and they're probably going to run with it and steal with it, but it's okay because we don't believe in intellectual property, right? Sure. But anyway, so I thought about doing something like that. Mm-hmm. But I am also kind of weary whether or not to do news related things. Sure. Because if, someone finds value in what I'm doing down the road and they want to kind of go back in whatever archives I have, then I think it's unfair to really date what's happening in a way. But then again, the past is the present and the present is the future. So I think everything is somewhat connected. Sure. It's just like going back and learning about World War II. So if I'm covering, whatever is going on in the Middle East or Venezuela, and I'm not claiming to be a foreign policy expert, if anything, I'm a fraction of a Scott Horton wannabe. But needless to say, I think it's still vital for anyone to go back and check out what some douchebag's opinion on a certain event that was occurring. So as far as the agenda for the show, I am learning as I go, and thank God for the cool connections I've been able to make on Twitter, because everyone is so open to just, provide me with source material in a way. But it's just really cool, the connections and relationships I made and how open and honest and, supportive people are in providing people knowledge. And that's really what we need as, ANCAP, libertarians, minarchists, whatever, fighting or questioning or being skeptical of the state. The very least we can do is educate each other. So that's really what I am trying to do. I'm educating myself.
Sure.
And if I feel like I'm worthy enough or have a grasp of what I've been educated on, then, I'm going to try to put that back into the world, because that is the most that we can really do is educate each other.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that I listening to your show, there's stuff that you shared that either I haven't thought about in a long time or I haven't thought about at all.
Oh, thanks.
Which is nice. And that's refreshing, especially since, I think in the libertarian community, in the anarchist community, we do kind of get into a groove of listening to the same people over and over and over again. It does kind of become,
honestly, we're shooting ourselves in the foot, to be honest, because the people that I and maybe even you choose to interact with on Twitter it's an echo chamber, but it's a healthy echo chamber, okay?
Yeah, it is, and it's friendly, and it's
as cool as being a libertarian is, what really libertarianism is being radical. And I think a part of being radical is being open to new ideas and always questioning things that come up, whether it's some retarded AOC green bill or if it's even questioning yourself, which is what I ultimately am trying to do and am not afraid of doing. Yeah. So I like to fight against libertarian principles wherever that sends me. Yeah. But it's always good to check yourself before you wreck yourself, kind of idea.
And I know one of the things that Carr says, and I appreciate this, and even my wife says this is very accurate of me, is one of the things that I like to do, and this is just sort of how I exist in life in general, is when you talk to me, especially when I start getting very political, it sounds like you're talking to somebody who's observing themselves, trying to figure out how to argue against themselves,
like in Jordan Peterson interviews where he's talking aloud and
where he starts where he goes and I do that a lot too, or I'll say something and then in my mind go well, what could they possibly say that's against this, and does that make logical sense? Ooh, that would make logical sense.
I have these arguments with myself all the time in my head.
But I think this is part of the libertarian autism that you and I talked about a little bit, where it's just kind of there is
65%, baby.
I think I was 41 or something like that, but there is
what Nick was from SOL?
No.
72.
72, really?
I know, I was shocked.
I believe it.
No, he's I'm a weird dude.
Yeah,
I'm a creepy fella.
But he's a great guy.
Goddamn sweetheart, man.
Yeah, he is. So if
go listen to Sounds Like Liberty.
Well, that's actually what's interesting is I've been on Sounds Like Liberty. And I have very eclectic musical taste, I think.
Yes, you do.
And but music is definitely something that's very important to you. I don't want to get into it too much, because if you end up going on Sounds Like Liberty, I want you to explore your Todd experience and all that sort of stuff with them. But you are very into the Texas music scene.
I'm not very into. It was only kind of thrown on me because my stepdad was into it.
Okay.
And it's kind of a thing the shit that your parents listen to. At first you hate it.
Sure.
And then as I kind of grew as a musician, I learned to appreciate it. Mm-hmm. Honestly, everything I learned guitar solo wise came from a song I would hear repeatedly.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about Texas music is it's an amalgam of folk, country, and rock and roll as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's where you get kind of that red dirt Americana, outlaw music.
Right.
Which in a way is libertarian if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Or it's kind of funny because I feel like musicians and artists in general are libertarian, but they just don't realize it. Kind of like the limousine liberal kind of deal, or what do they call them? Is it just called California liberals or LA liberals?
Yeah, I mean, they're basically, it's just for the audience to explain what people are talking about. It's liberals in California who feel guilty about their success.
Yeah,
and it's a lot of times.
No. I think the issue is that they don't feel guilty.
No, I think that they do feel guilty, and they try to cover it up by all these causes, but then they get in their Gulf Stream and go pollute and all that sort of stuff, even though they just spent all their time telling everybody else who makes $50,000 a year that they're not allowed to drive regular cars. They have to drive a Prius or they have to drive a Tesla or something like that nobody who makes $50,000 a year can afford. So,
True.
Yeah. So it's like, it's like Al Gore when he's like, in 10 years or whatever, we're going to be underwater. And then he gets into his Gulfstream and flies across the country. And it's like, okay, so do you really believe in this stuff or do you just believe that? And when you talk to people like this, they're like, well, no, we have to do it as a coordinated effort, which means basically they're not going to do it unless you do it, and they're going to force you to do it. Yeah.
Honestly, I fully came to like the liberty movement after listening to Dave Smith, and I'm going to, bring up two anecdotes that he mentioned based off everything that you just said. So first off, global warming, if it was really as much of an issue, then that would be the sole focus, but obviously that's not the case, and it's just bullshit propaganda to really either distract us from things that might be happening elsewhere in the world, or again, it's just propaganda and is just a ploy to make us feel guilty and give the state our money. And then, oh crap, damn it! I've done this like a dozen times today.
While you're thinking about it, I'll expand on that because I don't necessarily disbelieve in global warming.
Yeah, it's warming, but let's just
or climate change or whatever the deal is.
Yeah,
but I think that the correct, I wouldn't say necessarily the correct, but I think that one thing that people have to consider is that a climate scientist can tell you that the globe is warming or the climate's changing or whatever, and maybe they can even tell you that it's due to...
I know where you're going with this, because Bob Murphy says something similar.
Okay. Actually, this is maybe where I got it from then, is that they may even be able to tell you that man is causing
Basically, economists can prove anything with a graph.
Sure.
And Bob was talking about this on the episode he did about the economics of immigration.
Well, this is not exactly where I was going with it, but where I was going to go with it was they may be able to tell you all of these things. But what they can't tell you, because they're not experts in this area, is what the proper policy recommendation is.
Exactly, and that's the same fallacy in Keynesian economics.
Right, exactly. So, it is. It is exactly that. Is that maybe Keynesian, maybe they're correct on all these economic predictions and that sort of stuff. But they don't necessarily, they're not policy experts, so they're not going to be able to tell you necessarily the correct solution. So... And sort of to tie this back to wine a little bit. Sure, go ahead.
Add to that real quick.
Sure.
To take a jab at us libertarians, but not really. But the same principle can be applied when Ron Paul or Peter Schiff is like, oh yeah, the crash is going to come, but I can't tell you when.
Sure.
But the difference in that is that there's truth, and based on history, crashes do happen, and based on history, we do know that interventionism only makes it worse.
Yeah.
Okay, back to wine.
Sure. Well, I was going to tie this into wine is that there is, and I wouldn't say pro or con climate change or whatever, but I believe in the economy and I believe in market action. And there has been some shifts in the wine industry as a result of climate change to some degree. Not necessarily the extreme climate change that the UN is predicting, and now they're saying that we need to take away 50% of your income.
That just means our wine's going to be fruitier.
It's going to be different. and they're going to be able to grow it further north. Now, granted, there's other things that go into this, but...
Sorry, backtrack. It's going to be fruitier because it's going to be warmer.
Right, because warmer means more sugar, but it's going to be less acidic, so it's going to be...
More full body.
Yeah,
this is a win-win for me.
It's going to be interesting. But so in the wine industry, there has been some interesting action taken where, due to certain changes in the climate, they are getting higher yields. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean these are permanent changes, though. These are very, very good years in places that don't normally have very good years, and very, very bad years in places that normally do have good years. And it's sequential, but it's over a 10,
hundreds of years, as you can look at a graph from thousands of years ago.
It's very difficult to predict it, but it is interesting to me. And I've kind of gone away from making any sort of prediction about whether the climate is doing one thing or the other, because...
Leave it to the experts, Jake.
Well, the thing is, like, most of the people who are making these predictions are not actually experts. They're...
I know that was my point.
Yeah, they're all bureaucrats, but...
CNN contributors.
Right, yeah, CNN contributors. Yeah, exactly. So, the point, I think, is that regardless of your expertise, You're not an expert in everything. And what the market provides is people to coordinate expertise based on price, and price is a way to communicate expertise very quickly without...
But that's not going to happen if the CIA is...
Yeah.
Paying CNN contributors to fucking say whatever they want them to say.
That is true. So on that note, because we're going to start running low on time soon, I want to go into the Zinfandel because I want you to try it too. So why don't you pour that into my
tumbler?
Your tumbler, yeah.
I want to put my Diet Cherry Dr. Peppers in there.
Oh, why don't you pour the wine? You can if you want, you can pour it in the sink. Oh. It's cheap, so I don't really care that much. I'll drink it later, but I'm going to pour myself some of the Zinfandel because I think it's good. So for the listeners, I also got Mr. Pseu, and I spilled it a little bit, but that's okay. A Ravenswood Zinfandel. Mason and I have done this on the show before. This is from the Old Vine Zinfandel. This is done in Lodi, California. Ravenswood is the chief winemaker. Ravenswood is known as the godfather of Zin, and he's a bigwig when it comes to Zinfandel. So, Mr. Pseu, I don't mind if you spill a little bit of it. Go and pour yourself whatever you want, because I know that you don't want a huge amount. But I want you to try it, because these are the two that, based on what you told me, I thought you would like. Sure, yeah. You got to go for a run in the morning, so you don't want to... I
don't want to be hungover.
Yeah.
Actually, being drunk and going on a run isn't the worst thing to do. Mm-hmm. It depends on how much you drink. Mm-hmm. But I was a little tipsy this past Thanksgiving, and I'm like, hey, what am I going to do? Because I'm done with being with the family.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, I'm a little buzzed. Let's go for a jog.
Sure.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. Yeah. We'll see if this wine is equally enjoyable.
It's going to be different, but it's similar in a lot of ways. So I can
tell you it's going to be better than the other Zinfandel that I got.
Oh, the California one that you had online?
Yeah, the very jammy one.
Okay. This will be fruity and jammy, but probably not as jammy as that.
I just want people to know I'm smelling it.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's interesting about smelling wine is as you become more interested in wine, it ends up becoming a very big part of it, just kind of smelling it, because it smells good. Mm-hmm. So, like I never was that big into like candles and stuff like that. You brought us a candle as a gift, which I thought was very nice.
You're very welcome.
And I like the pipe tobacco smell. And I never really cared that much though about candles until I got married.
Until you were forced to. Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna say until after years of having no other gift option for your mother, just kind of like sticks and like, hey. My apartment smells like shit. Let's change this.
No, it was. I got married.
No, the way to change that is to make your goddamn roommate take out the trash.
Right.
Sorry, I'm venting.
Well, I got married, and when I would come home from work, it smelled so nice in the apartment. I was like, oh, this is nice to come home to a good smelling apartment. But like when you live somewhere and it smells like dude, you just kind of get nose blind to it.
I smell glorious.
I think I smell neutral, but I always brag about my neutral smell. I'm always like, well, I smell very neutral. So I don't know if that's true or not.
You just smell like house.
Yeah, you just smell like neutral. Like I just smell like I exist. Like it's not good, it's not bad, it's just neutral.
What was the weirdest smelling house of your friends that you had growing up? Because
it's interesting you bring it up. Because see, this
it's so true.
It is absolutely true.
And okay, so I can list at least probably 3 different distinct smells, but then you would actually come across the same smell in a different friend's house.
Yeah. I think it's cultural.
It's laundry detergent is probably what's in the pantry. Actually, you can actually make these connections between the differences of pantry smells and the difference of garage smells. Of course, it's the shit that's in the wherever you're smelling.
Right.
But I just think it's very strange.
It is different. Now there is scientific evidence that old people.
Do you think certain families just smell the same by DNA and hormones?
Yes, I do, but it's also an age-related thing because old people have a particular
like pee.
smell. Well, they have a smell that they produce. It's not pee. It's that
dying skin.
The binder that is in your skin.
Binder
that makes it not wrinkly. Eventually starts breaking down, and it makes you wrinkly. And this also produces an odor that it not necessarily a bad odor. It's just it smells like old person, and it's a real smell. Like it's something that people recognize, and when they go in somewhere, they're like, oh, it smells like old person here. I don't think it smells bad necessarily. It just smells like old person.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were distinct smells, and I did have one friend who I never wanted to go over to his house because I didn't like the way his family smelled, and they just had a a very strong odor.
Where would that fall on the prejudice spectrum? Is that smellist?
Probably smellist, yeah.
Smellist?
I mean, it was a white family.
Oh.
But
Well, I'm not saying you're racist. You're just smellist.
well, they're like a lot of people think that like different races smell differently, and that might be true. I don't know, but I think it's actually.
I agree.
I think it has to do with the food you eat. I don't think it necessarily has to do with the color of your skin. But I
went through like a heavy garlic phase in college, and then when I would come home, my mom was like, "You smell like garlic." I'm like, "No, I don't." But no, it's true.
Well,
like that shit will
smell,
seep through your pores.
I eat a shit ton of curry, and whenever I eat a lot of curry, my wife always goes, "Oh, you smell like curry."
Yeah,
I'm like, yeah, because I ate a bunch of curry.
I can attest to this because when I first moved to Austin, it's a tech bubble heavy, so that attracts a lot of Indian families. And I went through how long I was living here at this particular location for not even a year, and it was in and out like 2 different families, both Indian, and it smelled like curry every time I came home.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I like
that.
I like curry.
I mean, it's not a bad smell, but
yeah.
after a while, Actually, I'm not. Maybe I just haven't had good curry.
Oh, so I make very good vindaloo.
I feel like it's overwhelming.
Okay.
In a way.
You gotta try my vindaloo at some point.
Your what?
I'll make vindaloo. It's like curry kind of. It's very good. I'll tell you the friend that, to answer your original question, the friends whose house I didn't like to go over to was the smokers.
Oh, no shit. No one likes that.
But I felt bad because it was like one member of the family smoked, dad or mom or something like that. But the entire house always smelled like smoke, and they didn't even smoke inside. Like, but all the kids smelled like it. The drapes, everything. Like, I wouldn't stay the night. I didn't even want to stay and play video games or anything like that. It was just
weird.
Yeah, it was awful. Then I had another friend who I always wanted to spend the night at his house, because everything smelled like Dr. Pepper. Because their entire family drank Dr. Pepper nonstop.
Hell yeah.
And it was a great smell. And here in Texas, I fit in very well because I appreciate the crisp, clean, refreshing taste of Diet Dr. Pepper or Cherry Vanilla Diet Dr. Pepper.
Cherry Vanilla Diet.
Yeah. What did you get there? Cherry Dr. Pepper?
Just cherry. I did not see Diet Cherry Vanilla.
They may not have it anymore. There was like a promo
phase.
period where they had Cherry Vanilla Diet Dr. Pepper, and they had this commercial, and the tagline on it was Cherry Vanilla Diet Dr. Pepper. Ooh,
it's a mouthful.
It's great. One of the best commercials, and my mom would get it for me.
Hell yeah! It's about those limited time offer trials, and then they're just gone.
Speaking of limited time stuff, I haven't had TV in 13 years. I have actually. You can see I have a TV, but I haven't had cable or anything.
That's
like that.
A monitor.
Yeah, it's a monitor. It's a monitor for computer stuff. You and many of the other libertarians in this group have made the Jake from State Farm commercial joke.
Oh, well, you grew up with that.
I've seen the commercial, but I think it was going on when I wasn't around.
That,
or not.
I was still
TV.
in high school, so that's 2011 to, no, maybe not that early, but 20, at the earliest 2012 and on. Putting the doggo in the. Yeah.
She's gotta go into the room, and then she's gonna start scratching to try to get back into this room in a minute. But, so what do you think about the Zinfandel?
I kind of forgot how it tasted. Oh, no, I haven't tasted it yet.
Oh, okay.
At first, I was going to say it's similar to the Tempranillo.
Mm-hmm.
Not as much of a marbly feel, but definitely more acidic.
Okay. So, Tempranillo and Zinfandel on a spectrum of red wines are very, very, very close.
Cool.
And
it was right on the money.
Yes, yeah. And that's why I picked these two, because they're both very fruity. They're both pretty full-bodied. And they're both very acidic, but they're not necessarily very
full-bodied.
They're full-bodied.
Oh, wait. No. Oh, dang.
Yes.
I always get full-bodied and tannic.
Yes.
Confused.
So full-bodied is where it feels heavy on your tongue. So if you take it and hold it in your mouth, it feels heavy instead of light.
This feels light.
Okay, does it feel light to you? Okay.
But then again, I'm a wine poser. Frankly, I just like drinking red wine because it feels healthy. Like Victoria and her organicness, which is awesome. Values subjective.
Sure.
Boom. Liberty. Man, how terrible would that be if that just became a meme? Mm-hmm. Even to non-libertarians, and they just didn't know, no, just liberty.
Oh.
Just I don't know. Oh, fuck, I did it again. Where am I going with this?
Don't worry about it. Any sort of dead air is going to get cut out.
Why? No, don't cut that out.
I
don't edit this at all.
Oh, I
will not edit this. You're going to leave everything
episodes.
in. It would make your life so much easier if you don't edit.
I heavily edit because
That's
I want to
what.
sound nice.
Do you follow the Rollo and Slappy model?
You're right. They don't edit.
Hell no, they
They just
don't.
release it like the next day.
Hell no, they don't.
Yeah, I know. I edit usually, so.
Okay, but you're gonna keep this dialogue in, right? Yeah. Come on.
We'll find out.
That's what the people want.
Well, because I want to make this a mini episode, we've either got to
why would
stop
you
in
do
8
that?
minutes because I want it to come out on Tuesday.
Tuesdays are mini episodes?
Yeah, Tuesdays are minis and Fridays are normies.
You should keep. You need to keep that in. You need to keep all this in.
Yeah. Okay.
So
all right, I'll leave it in.
we'll cut it in 8 minutes because I'm ready to go to bed as I'm sure you are.
And I gotta walk the dog, but yeah.
So what was I gonna say about this wine? Oh no, I was saying the only reason I drink red wine is because it makes me feel better about myself. There's apparently health benefits.
There are.
Particularly
Well, my
in
doctor
the heart.
does. My doctor recommends it. Gastrointestinal. He anything fermented actually he says is good in moderation.
Yeah, because it's like a probiotic.
Yeah, exactly. Well, wine isn't.
I don't think there's
exactly,
probiotics in
No,
here.
it's not. So the I can't
Maybe
remember what it was that he
prebiotics?
said. There was something about wine that kind of is conducive to a healthy gut flora. So maybe it is prebiotic. I'm not sure. But, I only go to an osteopath, which everybody always thinks is bizarre. But osteopaths are...
Explain that.
Okay, so an osteopath is a real doctor, like a regular medical doctor. But
Instead of a general practitioner?
Yeah, but they go to additional school. And their additional school training is to treat not the symptoms of a sickness.
By the way, I found out how to get my... is it dryness or full body? What's the dry mouth feel?
That's not full bodied or light bodied. The dry mouth feel is tannic.
Got it.
Yeah.
When in doubt, you need a tannic feel in your mouth. Drink wine with actual grapes.
So I would say this particular wine, this is actually an interesting combination because you've got pickles and grapes.
Oh, yeah. In addition to my container of grapes, probably a pound plus, I also have a giant jar of pickles.
Kosher dill, the good stuff.
Hell yeah. I'll go through a jar of these in God knows how long, probably a night. So I got a grape and a pickle kink, as well as, if you check out my episode 7, I have a Pelosi kink as well.
Okay. All right.
I know that she's seen better days, and she is a stone cold scarecrow wacko bitch, but hey, you look back a couple of decades maybe, hey man, it's promising.
Okay.
Even though...
And she's very, very rich.
She is.
Yeah.
I also have a conspiracy that she is probably a mafia princess as well. Pelosi,
that could be.
is Italian.
I know that
Italian.
Hillary is not a mafia princess, but I believe that the Rodhams...
Blue blood?
No, I think the Rodhams made all their money in prostitution.
Oh,
Yeah.
Pizzagate.
Yeah,
there we go.
Yeah. So, I think like the Carolinas, I think they were like big prohibition, prostitution, and liquor runners.
Nice.
I don't know that for sure, so you can fact check me on that.
But that sounds too cool, though.
Yeah, it does sound too cool, but at the same time, like it makes sense.
That doesn't want to make me Pokey go to the polls.
Yeah. Pokemon go to the polls.
There we go.
Yeah.
I just died.
That's one of the things I like. I like the Pokemon go to the polls, and I also like the 10 feet
Hot
higher.
sauce.
No, 10 feet higher from Trump. Like,
the wall?
2016 was the best. So, like, anytime anybody says
Bad slogans.
yeah, bad slogans. So, like, like today when I was talking on the Twitter group, or the GChat group for some of the libertarian group guys that got kicked off of Twitter, they were saying, well, I said I made a reservation for 10 people, which it turned out there was exactly 10 people at our thing. And they said, well, what do you do if there's 20 people? And I said, you know what I say to that? The table just got 10 feet larger. So it's the same thing. Like, you could use these slogans all the time. And like anytime like somebody says like,
That's how memes are made, dude.
yeah, it's exactly. It's how memes are made. So like, we're going to Pokemon go to mellow mushroom pizza. Like, you could just say things like that all the time. And it doesn't make any sense, but there are these terrible slogans from the
What makes your mushroom mellow?
Yeah. What makes my mushroom mellow?
Yeah.
Pokemon going to the polls.
You just know. You unmellowed my mushroom.
I unmellowed it.
Yeah.
I had one more thing before. Oh, I wanted to cover Zinfandel. So we've covered 2 wines tonight.
Is this the Croatian dude that brought the
Zinfandel? Yes, Croatian.
Okay, cool. I always forget this history, and I talked to a guy at Total Wine, and he's like, "No, you're full of shit." I'm
No,
like,
well,
but I heard it on Tasting Anarchy, so of course it's true.
Yeah. So this is one of the myths. So there's two myths about Zinfandel, and nobody really knows how it actually happened. So anybody who tells you they know, they're full of shit.
State Farm.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah. So one is that there was a immigrant to California during the gold rush, or prior to the gold rush. He was starting a cattle ranch, and he just recognized that, I think it was Sonoma, I don't think it was Napa. He recognized that it was just a really great microclimate for growing grapes. And so he enlisted this other cattle farmer who was in the area at the time, and he was like, hey, let's plant some grapes and stuff like that. And the guy was like, awesome, yeah. And he was rich. So he was like, here you go, here's some money, let's get this going. And so he kept taking trips back to Europe, and he would bring stuff with him. And one of the things he brought back, according to legend, is Zinfandel, and he called it Zinfandel.
Is that like a family name, or is it just random?
It's just something he made up, or maybe it's just random, I don't know. But so they thought that Zinfandel was native to California for a long time.
They thought?
Yeah, they thought. Okay. Well, see, in the 80s they started
doing
genetic...
I just questioned because it sounded like you said fought. So
they
fought for their grapes.
Yeah, they thought it was
for their right
Californian
to grow
grape. Then in the 80s and 90s they started doing DNA testing of grapes. And they found out that Zinfandel is actually the same as this varietal that is Croatian. I don't remember what it's called. And that they're genetically the same thing. That all the Zinfandel in California, for the most part, are clippings.
Clones?
No, they're not clones. They're clippings. So clones are a little bit different, and we won't get into it here. Cloning is interesting, and clippings are interesting. Grapes are very unusual the way that things work. So
they are just by on a weekly basis. If you go by grapes.
Yeah.
Just the strain and ripeness and plumpness.
And just the idea that you can go to a grapevine, clip a vine off, and then stick it in the ground and it'll probably turn into another grapevine.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like that, and that's how they do clippings, roughly.
If I get into agorism, that's the first thing I'm going to start growing your grapes.
They're easy. Well, they're easy to grow, but it takes 4 years for them to mature. It takes a lot of TLC. Yeah,
right size, and
they won't provide grapes for several years.
Oh, fuck that.
Yeah.
I don't have that time.
Because I grew grapes in my backyard in Virginia, and it took a long time for them to start. And then the birds are always
edible.
They provided small. Yeah, I had edible grapes. I didn't have wine grapes.
I'm talking about eating my own grapes.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not talking about. Okay, so if I want to have my hydroponic agarist set up in my house,
you can do hydroponics or aquaponics. We'll get together on aquaponics. You got to have tilapia in your garage.
I don't need fish in my garage. I don't have a garage.
Right. Well, you can do it with goldfish or something like that too. But
anyway, if I grow my own grapes in my house, then they'll be edible, or do I have to wait 4 years for them to be edible?
It probably won't produce fruit for 3 to 4 years.
What the hell?
Yeah, it takes a long time.
Ew.
It's a lot of work. 3 to 4 seasons. I think I got a little bit the second season, but the birds and then I hated putting the nets over the grapes because the birds would get caught in the nets, and then I'd feel bad for the birds. And
don't feel bad for the birds.
I do feel bad for the birds. I feel bad for all animals.
Why don't you eat the birds?
Well, they're like little chickadees and stuff, so not really any meat on them.
It's a nugget.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Or a giblet.
Yeah, all right.
Being resourceful, man.
Yeah, but anyway, so Zinfandel.
That's how you work horizontally in the agorist community.
And then the other theory for Zinfandel was that the Holy Roman Empire, the last of it, the Austro-Hungarian Empire, gifted the New York University of New York or something like that, gifted them clippings of a wide variety of grapes, and that's where it came from, because Croatia was part of that empire at the time. So
it feels that they gave them a large variety of clippings, and it's not just Zinfandel.
They gave them a whole bunch of different things, but Zinfandel was one of the things they gave them.
So can you go to the store and buy a Zinfandel grape and eat it?
Wine grapes are not really eating grapes, so no. I don't know what this is. So long story short, there are different types of grapes, and the types of grapes that you eat are not usually the same as the ones you use for wine.
Stupid.
They are different. So you also have the American varietals, which are not winemaking grapes, and they add odd flavors. So Concord
was
grapes.
Was that intentional or accidental? I would think that's accidental.
Yeah, they're just
thousands
they're just
of years
different. They're
back.
just different species of grape. So like Concord grapes is an American varietal, and that is the classic grape taste.
Yeah.
It's not. That's not what Vita, the type that they make European wines out of is.
I mean, they probably
Vita
did it
Ver-
at first, and then they're like, "Yo, this was a mistake."
Well, they do make it, and actually,
Or is that what table wine is?
table wine is blends usually. And,
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yes. So, but Vita verniferus is the species of grape that they usually make wine out of. You can make it out of the American style grapes, but there are interesting flavors in it that people don't normally find appealing. Foxiness is how it's described usually. Yeah, so it's kind of a musty taste that's a little
That's
unusual.
the opposite of foxy. That's like grandpa.
Musty, like, well, no, foxes have a scent gland in their tail that.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking musk. My apologies.
Yeah, musty, like. I don't know. It's just a strong flavor that's in it. But there are varietals of American grapes, and there's a lot of European American hybrids that are really underrated. And I'm going to actually go over those in an episode that.
Don't spoil it.
I don't want to spoil it because I'm going to have somebody on. The Great Lakes regions grow a lot of these hybrid grapes, and they are really interesting. They're a little bit different than the European varietals, but they aren't bad, and they do have a unique flavor. But let's go ahead and end it there. Do we want to plug anything from tonight? I think that we want to plug your show again. Let's plug Dino's show, and let's plug the Friends Against Government. So you go for it.
So, my show is the Pseudolectual, not pseudo-intellectual.
I think I always say pseudo-intellectual.
Yeah.
So
Also,
let me try. Pseudolectual.
yeah, I just made your life easier. Minus one syllable.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect.
Also, I don't know why Dean added an extra L. Because originally, I mean, in intellectual, there's two L's.
I don't know how it's spelled.
I'm
the worst speller on the
Tellectual.
Okay.
Fact check me. I probably fucked that up. But, yeah, it's the Pseudolectual, and you'll see my beautiful real life face when you search it on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, and honestly, I'm sorry people have lied to you. I said it was going up on YouTube or some other tubes, but I'm lazy, okay? Yeah. I haven't gotten there. And quite frankly...
we're on YouTube.
Oh, shit. I better step up my game. Goddamn.
If you want to get 40 listeners like us, you got to get on YouTube.
Oh, well, I was assuming that'd be 40 extra listeners that you didn't know you existed.
Right. Oh, right.
Yeah, so you've got 80, really.
Right.
Podbean's not catching what's happening on YouTube.
Sure. Yeah, that's true.
Probably not catching what's on like BitChute or like YouTube either.
Probably not. I have no idea. And
I think if anything, I'll upload to there.
Okay.
Because everything's up in the air as far as starting a Patreon or just because people are fucking just sorry. Think things are happening. I'm distracted. ADHD. If people couldn't tell listening. But you just can't be too careful with what is happening in the world. People are just too hypersensitive, pussy-ass bitches, and they just want to take it out. And they just... as you can tell, I'm frustrated. But as libertarian ANCAPs, we need to conceal our emotions. We can't think emotionally. We can't let that get the best of us. We have to step back. Be practical, develop this philosophy, educate people on it, and turn that into the policy. Unlike, doing the vice versa, having the policy and, indoctrinating that into the philosophy.
Sure.
If that wasn't too jumbled up words, did I even plug my show? I'm Mr. Pseu at Mr. Pseu on the Twitter, and my show is called The Pseudolectual. Not the Pseudolectual podcast.
What is the network that is on?
And it is on the Air Network, alternative internet radio. And that is set up by the man, the myth, the legend, Dino Files. And that is the same network that hosts Annie Files, Drunky Files, as well as Jeremiah Harding's show. So you can go check him out as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry if I left out anyone else on that network. I apologize.
They'll forgive you.
I'm sure they will, even though I probably never met them. But yeah, and as like they need any more plugs, but check out the Fat Cast. I know they're doing awesome stuff. God damn, that's one thing I was gonna ask Carr, like what he's gonna do, because he's gonna do some solo stuff in regards to crypto, because that's like
that's his jam, yeah,
dude, yeah. And then Carr's gonna do some.
I think he's gonna do some history stuff.
I mean, not Carr, Bird. Yeah, he's gonna do some political and historical. I think that's theater kind of stuff.
I think that's his jam as well.
Because he's a historian.
I've got some stuff in the works too for our community. That I'm co-opting. So basically, what I'm known for at this point is taking over somebody else's show.
Dude, nice. Wait, is that what this is?
No, this is my show.
Oh, SSL. Oh, you mean SLL? Where you hijack it?
Yeah. Well, apparently,
that's exactly what I'm planning on doing.
Apparently,
and Nick's like, "Yo, that just makes the show easier for me." So
because he's very, very easy going. But I came up with an idea with our Liberty group or whatever for a new show called Faglib.
Faglib?
Yeah. And it's, you know what a Mad Lib is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically that. But stay tuned for that because I'm going to try to get that going. And I'm going to try to make it cross-network. So it'll be our people will
It's like a Lions of Liberty where they have like 4 different shows.
Yeah, basically.
Excluding the 3 that go on weekly because they have libertarians drinking liquor, and then they have like a conspiracy corner, and then they have like...
Actually, their conspiracy corner is very good.
I haven't checked it out.
Oh. I think it's behind the paywall.
Do I need to give them... God damn it.
Yeah, I think it is. It's good though.
I already pay enough people.
I feel you. Because I'm on the same page, but I do pay for the Lions of Liberty one. And most of their paid content I just don't care about, but I do like Conspiracy Corner.
Oh, don't tell Mark Claire that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, their stuff is very good. It's just a lot of stuff I don't care about. So like the Drunken Gamblers, that's one that they do that is fun for people who like sports. I just don't like sports.
Fuck sports.
And but I do like Conspiracy Corner a lot. And
it's warfare and training.
And I do like, also, they do, when they have guests on, a lot of time they'll have like an extended question portion. Mm-hmm. And the extended question portion has like bonus features. And that's only available behind the paywall, which is just fun.
Behind the paywall.
Yep.
Free man beyond the paywall.
Right. Right. So anyways, plugging the Friends Against Government.
Rollo and
Slappy as well. And
Sounds Like Liberty.
Yep. That's a good one too. And I feel like we're missing somebody, but
Jackson Blood.
With Jackson Blood on Twitter, you can follow him at Jackson
Road
Blood
Toad Discovery Society. Road Toad is the superior cryptid. Suck a dick if you disagree. And that's not aggression, so that's not a NAP violation.
Not an argument.
And it's also not an argument.
All right, so I think that is a good place to wrap it up. We've got the plugs.
Drinking that mess is their delight. When it gets around, start fighting all night. Knock down
all right, have a good night, everybody. Stay free.
Drinking half gallons and calling for more. Drinking wine, for you to drink wine. Wine, for you to drink wine. Wine, for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Hoy! Drink at me. Oh, give me some of that slop. Oh, pass that bottle to me. If you want to get along in Peterstown, buy some wine and pass it around. Age runs up to 49. All them cats, they love sweet wine. Drinking wine, for you to drink wine. Wine, for you to drink wine. Wine, for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Hoy! Wine, wine, wine. Elderberry. Wine, wine, wine. Cherry, cherry. Wine, wine, wine. Blackberry. Wine, wine, wine. Port and sherry. Wine, wine, wine. Oh, pass that bottle to me. Now down on Gill Street at Willie's Den, he wasn't selling but American gin. One soldier wanted a bottle of wine. He hipped that cat for $1 and a dime. Drinking wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Pass that bottle to me. Now I got a nickel, have you got a dime? Let's get together and get some wine. Somebody's fifth and somebody's fourth. When you get together, you're doing things smart. Drinking wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Wine for you to drink wine. Pass that